What's going on, guys? This is No Filter and Nintendo Podcast, and here's episode number 27 being recorded on July 18th, 2019. Yes, it's been a little while. E3 has passed. A lot of new announcements have come out. A lot of games are coming up. This is getting into one of the more busy times of the year. So yes, got to get another podcast episode out there. I have a ton of games I've played recently, but I also have a few really cool segments that I want to talk about, including some of my most anticipated Nintendo first-party games of this year, as well as some other hot topics as well. So let's just jump into some of my thoughts about some of the games I've been playing recently. Let's go. So the first game I'm going to talk about is called Furwind, and Furwind is a side-scrolling action game similar to what I would say Adventure of Link. Similar to a game like that. It is a action platformer, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So I guess you could probably compare it a lot to Shovel Knight and the Mega Man type games. However, you play as a fox in this game, and in this game the only attack you really have is swinging your tail. Think a la, Super Mario, playing in Mario games and having like a tanuki tail and stuff like that. And, it has like the regular jumping, platforming. The attacks aren't that, again, they're not that impactful. So the game, I'd say, is more about the, exploration and maneuvering throughout the worlds and the jumping mechanics. However, they do have some pretty interesting boss battles and some different abilities that you can use when you're playing the game. The story isn't anything too crazy, but they do kind of give it a good college try to bring a story in there. But again, you're really going to be playing these games for the regular platforming and the gameplay. As far as the actual levels go in the world, there's a lot of variety here. There's some really cool, different, unique levels. One of my favorites, I would say, is one of these levels that essentially the darkness is surrounding you, and you need to collect fireflies in order for you to brighten up the area, and so that the darkness doesn't consume you. So the more you move around and fight, the more the fireflies are going to be dissipating. So you have to run to the next firefly nest to collect more and more so that you can then proceed on through the level. And again, you have to be cautious about how far off you are from the next nest. You want to make sure you're timing yourself right, because just over time they'll slowly disappear, and then again, if they disappear, you're gone as well. They have a lot of different little elements like this. They have like a tiki looking world as well. They have a lot of these different unique worlds, and a lot of them usually have their own kind of gimmick towards them, and I really appreciate that. It really set this game apart from just being a typical action platformer to being one that actually takes chances. And speaking of taking chances and stuff, and just being a quality game, yeah, looks really nice. It is kind of like the pixelated artwork a little bit, but everything runs really smoothly. The animations look nice. This is a competent action platformer, and I think if anyone's really looking forward to a game like that, or they really want to play one, maybe you're really waiting for the next Shovel Knight DLC, and you just really want to play a game like that, I think this might be a good game for you to try. So that's Furwind for Switch. Next game is called My Big Sister, and this is a little slower. This is more of a story-driven game, almost like a text adventure, but it is in a 8-bit, 16-bit art style, where it kind of reminds me of Earthbound in a lot of ways. However, again, it's not really an RPG battle system. It's really just kind of going through, getting to the next sort of cutscene, reading through dialogue, and moving on from there. It's a horror game, though, top-down horror game. Again, like, it visually looks like Earthbound, but the story just goes really wonky and really kind of grabs you. I started this not too long ago, and as soon as I started it up, I was like, okay, I'm just going to play this for a couple minutes, see what it's like, then maybe I'll get in later because it was getting a little bit late, but I ended up playing it for a little over an hour, and it was really late at night when I decided to start it up, so I was like, oh man, this story has me intrigued, and essentially you're playing as a little girl, Lucia, and she has a big sister that gets murdered, and she doesn't know where her parents are. She tries to find her sister, but it turns out that she has mental issues, and her sister is basically like haunting her, and it goes into a lot of craziness. I don't want to go into too many details about it, but the story is really intriguing. the story is really interesting, but as far as the gameplay and everything kind of around it, it's kind of ho-hum. It's not really too amazing or anything like that. So I'd suggest this one more as a maybe wait for a sale, but I do think the story is really interesting. I think a lot of people are going to be intrigued by it. Something I haven't quite seen before. Obviously, it does have a lot of the adventure kind of elements to it. Where you have puzzle solving. You find a like a flashlight in one area, and you can use that to then go through another area that was dark previously, stuff like that. And overall, My Big Sister, it's actually pretty interesting. I'd suggest wait for a sale, but yeah, it's definitely worth a look. Next game, Siberian, the Time Traveling Warrior. This is straight up like a Mega Man style kind of a game. And, it doesn't have too many crazy levels, but it does get pretty hard. It's pretty decent. Like, it looks really nice. I love the art style. It's really kind of cool. Like, you're basically like an old barbarian that got zapped into the future, and you're going through these kind of neon worlds. There's robots, henchmen, stuff like that. It's really kind of an interesting little premise. Not really much of a story there, obviously, but the gameplay, like the platforming itself, is pretty decent. But my main issue was the actual combat, which is kind of annoying. You do get used to it, but my main issue with it is that you attack, but the attacks you go through are timed. So like you have to hit the attack button, it hits very slowly, then you have to hit the other one in rhythm with what doesn't seem like it's really in rhythm with the gameplay, just in rhythm with a timer in your head that you have to have. So if you just go in, you see an enemy, you want to hit them, you hit the A button twice or something, sorry, the Y button, you'll hit it like twice, it'll stop you because you're not hitting in rhythm, and then you'll be open up for an attack, and they do a lot of damage to you. You need to go in, you need to hit the Y button, wait the set amount of time for you to do another hit in that combo, hit it again. It really slows down every time you go near an enemy, and that's my main issue with the game. The rhythm and the flow just isn't there, but everything else around it is really good, and that's what I'm kind of upset about, is just how unfortunate it is that this is such a big hindrance to the game, because everything else is really quite impressive. But either way, I did go through it, I did beat it, I did get used to that element of the game, but I still don't think the flow cutting off like that in so many ways, like during the fighting and during the gameplay and stuff, I just don't think was a good decision by the developers to do that. But it does set it apart though, so maybe they just wanted to do something a little bit different, not just be a similar kind of Mega Man style action platformer like that. So yeah, that's Siberian, the Time Traveling Warrior. If it sounds like it's your cup of tea, if you like the Mega Man games, it might be worth a shot. But for me, I did find that part really annoying. But hey, I did beat the game, so take that for what you will. Next game is Bouncy Bullets, and this is another game where it's like really impressive. I really enjoyed the game, but there's one thing that is actually a big pet peeve of mine that I kind of wanted to do a full video on, but I think I might just leave it in here. Bouncy Bullets, first-person shooter game. It's basically like a time trial game. You want to run and get to the finish as quick as possible. A few enemies are there, you get to shoot them, but it's mainly a first-person platforming. My issue, they do not allow inverted controls. Inverted as in, if you press down, you look up, press up, you look down. I've heard and I've read that this is the proper way that most people should be playing if it makes more sense normally. And I've always been an inverted player. So the fact that I have no option to do that in these games. It's 2019. The fact that you have no option to switch to inverted controls in 2019 is absolutely absurd. It shows me that they did not have testers during the game, or maybe they did and they just didn't give a shit. Really, really annoys me because, again, the game is actually really good. Smooth frame rate, looks really cool, really colorful and, happy and joyful and all this kind of crap. But just the fact that I could not, I could play through it and I can get through it, but the aiming, I just couldn't do it as efficiently because I'm so used to inverted controls, and it should be an option. That's just what it is. And the fact that it isn't there, super disappointing. That's all I really want to say about Bouncy Bullets. Really disappointed me in that way. I did reach out to them on Twitter asking, hey, this should be inverted. This is ridiculous. I went through, probably 60 levels like that. So, hey, maybe I did still have my fun with it. But the fact that I haven't heard anything back, no one else is saying anything, it just really is unfortunate that this isn't an option. It should be for every single first-person game, or any game should have that option for inverted controls. Anyway, next game is O Vivo. This is one of the better ones I've played recently, actually. It's a platformer very artsy and kind of minimalistic in its art style, and kind of even just the platforming in general, because basically you have a level that is made up of, basically an illustration that you're zooming in and you're just a little ball. However, that level is made up of black and white, and you basically transfer from one plane to the other, the black and the white plane, and you can kind of transfer. But every time you transfer, the momentum of you transferring and falling through to the other plane carries you. So all of a sudden, if you keep transferring at the right time just before you hit the other level and the gravity kind of switches you around, you can increase your length and you basically throw yourself up as if it's a platformer. So you can move left and you hit A. That's essentially what you do. However, if you do that multiple times and you collect enough momentum, all of a sudden you can launch yourself over to different platforms, and it's something unique, and I really enjoy that about this game. The levels, again, it's kind of repetitious. It doesn't seem like there's too much difference. Sometimes there's spikes, sometimes there are larger gaps and really long drops that really create some cool little areas where you're like propelling yourself from one platform to another and stuff like that. But it's a little repetitious, but I really enjoyed the main gameplay concept that they have here. I kind of wish they kind of expanded on it more, because the game really is just doing that and going through the different levels and collecting, the 3 collectibles in every level and moving on to the next one. I like the whole the user interface and the whole main menu system and everything like that. Everything's kind of spherical based, and you kind of move around as if it's like a clock to find different or I guess a sundial I'd probably compare more to, but to select different levels. And just the whole package is really pretty well put together, really well made game. Again, a little bit simple, but for the price, which is a really cheap game, by the way, definitely recommended. Ovivo was a lot of fun. Next game, Per Chang. This is another really cool puzzle game, actually. However, I think this was a little bit simple. I feel like they could have increased it a little bit better, or at least increased the difficulty a little more. But essentially, this game is you are controlling a contraption that you need to put certain balls into a ring or into a hole or something like that. Then there'll be a couple maneuverable options or parts of that mechanism that you can take control of. So think pinball. Say there's 2 paddles there, and then these balls are rolling from one side, and you need to get them from that one side on the left all the way to the side on the right, but then you have 2 paddles in the middle. When those balls roll over the paddle, you need to select that part of the mechanism. You can either have the blue or the red selection, so meaning you can do 2 things at once, and then you can hit that ball up and then have the other one with the right trigger and the other one at the left trigger, then hit that ball over again and then hit that into the ring that you need to get enough, and then you finish that level, move on to the next one. So again, like all these different mechanisms and stuff that you'll have with each different level. So another one might be you control the fan. So you hit the trigger, make sure that you have that one selected. The fan will start propelling all these balls up to a different area. Then maybe you have another paddle. So the one section where you're hitting propelling all the balls up into the air, then maybe you have with your left trigger on a paddle above hitting that ball now into a different hoop somewhere else. So again, you're controlling these mechanisms in order to get as many of the balls into another hoop or on another area of the level as quick as you can. And it's really cool. It has a really cool art style, minimalistic again, with like kind of the white kind of tones, white monochrome kind of tonacity, but then the few sections of the mechanisms that you can actually control are colored. It's really kind of cool how it looks, and it's kind of fun. But again, my problem was that it's a little simple. Throughout the first I think like 50 levels, there was only ever 2 different things that I control. It's not like you can have like 4 different colors with all these 4 different things you need to do. For the most part, every one of these levels, it's like 2, maybe 3 different segments that connect to each other that you need to time right with your paddle swings or with your button presses. So it's not too impressive. as far as the actual like puzzles are, but some of them did stump me a little bit, and some of it does take some skill with timing wise and being able to put them together and string these together in order to get them in the hoop as quick as you can before the time runs out. So yeah, Perchang, again, I think this is one maybe for sale. I did enjoy it for what I did play. About 50 levels. I believe it's about 75 total. I have not beat it 100% yet, but yeah, I think it's a pretty good game. If you're into puzzle games like this, maybe wait for a sale on this one though. Next one is called Run the Fan. I enjoyed it for the 10 minutes that I played, but then after I realized kind of what the game was, again, very simple puzzle game, I just kind of stopped after that. I really wasn't really going to show me much more that I really wanted to play. I got the idea. I went through the first set of levels, went through part of the second set, and essentially the game is you play as a metallic ball, and you need to connect the circuits. So basically there'll be openings it looks like a motherboard. There'll be openings that the electricity current won't be able to continue through from one place to another. You need to be able to roll your ball in time to carry the current over to the next segment, and then roll to the next segment, then to the next segment, then get that to the end goal, and then move on to the next level. It does have some cool little aspects. It does look pretty cool, like you really are like kind of fiddling around in 3D space of like a motherboard in front of you. But yeah, that's essentially what the game is. It doesn't have much else to it. I would not recommend this one to go buy, but again, if you are a puzzle game fan, maybe wait for a sale. But again, you have to be really into puzzle games, and if you're going to be playing this on when you're commuting or something like that, because just sitting down to go play it, this isn't something you'll be playing for more than an hour. In fact, you'll probably be able to play this on like cell phones and stuff like that, right? So it's up to you guys how you want to play it, but for what it is, for what the game is trying to do, it does it really well. It looks really nice. Some of the puzzles are actually pretty interesting. Some of them had like little hang-ups for me, but yeah, that's pretty much it. There really wasn't much else to the game, so yeah, that's it for that one. Paradox Soul. This is a different kind of side-scrolling action stealth game, I would say. So in the game, you're basically breaking into a testing facility, and the whole game doesn't really show you or tell you how to play. So it's one of those where you're kind of figuring it out on your own. I think it's kind of taken from the whole Dark Souls type of aspect in that way. It doesn't play exactly like that, but the fact that it doesn't really show you or tell you how to do certain things, you just kind of figure it out on your own, I kind of appreciate. I do like that. But yeah, it is a stealth sort of survival game in a way, side-scrolling. So you're going through this facility. There'll be different enemies that come at you, the test robots and stuff like that of the facility that you need to kill. You only have, you have a gun, does not shoot quick, and you only can take 2 hits, at least at the start of the game. So you'll find a different cover. You hide behind the cover, you shoot the enemy, you hide back in cover so that they can't hit you, you shoot them again. You need to be very meticulous in your actions and moving around throughout the game. You can avoid and you can duck under different weapons and stuff like that. You can kind of vault over different enemies, dogs, lasers, guns, rockets, stuff like that. But again, majority of the game is slowly, meticulously looking at your enemy's movements and reacting to them appropriately. So again, like you need to be I've said it many times already in a minute, very meticulous in your actions. And if you're into a game like that where you have to be kind of slowly moving through, not just kind of jumping in, running in all guns a-blazing, I think you might enjoy this. I did not like the visual style. It is just so overdone and overplayed, I guess. Like it is like the 16-bit, but everything's so far zoomed out that nothing really has any meaning or detail that you can really see when you're zooming in there. When you're zoomed out, you can kind of see like, oh, hey, the levels here, but everything's just kind of going left to right for the most part. Not really much else kind of around that. There's some little small light puzzle aspects and stuff like that, but majority of the game is just going to be you again, slowly moving through the level, making sure you kill enemies, going back, finding a different puzzle piece or something like that, that then opens a different door to a different, lower, deeper facility. Enemies get a little bit tougher, different enemies get thrown at you, and you have to figure out their moves so that you can then go through and be able to, again, like kind of loop together different enemies together and like how you would deal with them typically. Sometimes they throw two of them at you at once, so you need to work, act quickly in order to address them. And it's a competent game. I just don't think it was really for me in that way. I do appreciate the meticulousness and being able to kind of slowly move through the game like that, but I just don't think the payoff was all there. So Paradox Soul, I think this is more of a skip for me. But again, if it sounds like something for you, it might be there. It's it's a competent game. I just don't think it really stuck with me as well. Next game is Grass Cutter. And I don't know why, but a lot of these games that have to do with cutting grass, I really enjoy. I don't know what it is. There's a game on 3DS called Legend of Kusakari, which is really good. It's basically, think of the Zelda Ocarina of Time where you're, all people loved going and just cutting all the grass. That is a game where literally it's a time trial based, having to cut through all the grass in a level to then beat the level. But, and literally as if you're, a Link running through with a sword and cutting it. This game, however, Grass Cutter, is literally you're a sentient lawnmower, and you just need to be able to cut every tile of grass in this, tile-based, in these tile-based levels, and you need to be able to do that as quickly as you can, trying to avoid different obstacles, trying to avoid cutting over grass that's already been cut, in order to increase your time. And it's kind of fun. It's more of a puzzle game in that way, right? And it's a little bit of fun. Again, like if this doesn't sound like is really something that's really going to catch your attention, it probably won't. It's nothing too spectacular. It looks fine. It plays fine. Everything about it's fine. It's just if that core gameplay concept is really going to grab you or not. And for me, kind of did. I did get kind of I wouldn't say addicted, but I did get kind of pushed towards wanting to complete more and more levels to unlock different lawnmowers and scenes and stuff like that. But for me, I think this one's more of a pass. Again, maybe if it's really cheap on a sale or something like that. I just think that this is a game that you could probably see on mobile. Next game, Neon Junctions. This is a first-person puzzle game. Not a la Portal in that way. This is more, having to move blocks, and kind of similar to what I was talking about with Run the Fan. You're connecting currents basically through the level, but you're in first person through a 3D world. So some of the cool aspects of the game is, say there's a current running, it ends at a floor, and you need to carry it up to a part high on the ceiling or something like that. Say there's a wall beside you, and you can then place blocks on that wall that create basically stairs alongside of it. It carries that current up along with you, and then you can go up through that level in order to basically continue through, move on to the next level, and so on and so forth. There's different things as well where it's not just, connecting currents like that. That's one of the major elements that they have here, where you're connecting currents in order for you to create new blocks that actually can stick and get used. But there's a different semi-platforming segments. Again, you need to be cautious with resource management. How many blocks can you use in this one location? There's different ways that you can complete each level. However, it can get pretty difficult, and it does get pretty difficult relatively early, which I like because it's a kind of a simple concept, but then it gets difficult, and you really have to kind of think on your feet to figure out different ways with each level, and I did appreciate that. However, again, I don't think this is like a fantastic game or anything like that, but if you are into first-person puzzle games, and say, if you are a fan of Portal, this might be something you might be interested in. Doesn't have the, any of the production value that had, really doesn't really have the, the atmosphere and the humor and stuff like that. But if you like just kind of basic first-person puzzle games, this is competent. It does its job. Next game is called Back in 1995. And this is a really weird game. So this is kind of a third-person top-down view for the most part. I'd say more of like an isometric view. And you play as a person. You are on top of a building. You don't know what is going on. You're trying to leave. However, there are these evil monsters that are basically chasing you whenever you get to a certain spot. It is super old school, as in visuals, music, design, everything like that. This is straight up replicating old, like, I guess, adventure games that you'd see back in 1995, no pun intended, but yeah, no, it has some interesting little segments in there, but again, everything's slow. It's very tank controls. You are moving through 3D space, finding different puzzle pieces that you can move throughout the level. You might find parts to a gun that you can actually assemble to then attack one of the monsters chasing you. The monsters don't really follow you through different rooms. However, you can easily get trapped in some of these rooms because you are tank controls. You can't move too quickly. Being able to spin and take a turn, you really kind of just have to stop, take a turn, then move straight again. It's not really too fluid in that way. And it's not a great game, at least for me. I feel like if you are a fan of these old games like this, old adventure games like this, I think this scratches that itch, and I'm pretty sure that's what they were going for here, especially why they kept with a visual style like this and all that. But for me, just wasn't really anything that I got completely hooked on. I played for probably about an hour. I have a feeling that I was probably at least another 2 hours to go through at the game. But if that sounds like something for you, then maybe go for it. But for me, that's definitely a no-go, and I'd suggest Sail, if anything. Devious Dungeon 2, a lot of good reviews on this one. However, for me personally, I did not really jump into it too well. It's kind of just a basic sort of I guess you'd say kind of like a roguelike action platformer. You have a normal attack, you have normal jumps, normal type of enemies, and you have kind of roguelike aspects that you kind of, you can kind of improve your character, move on to the next level, kind of keep going through. Nothing too out of the ordinary or extraordinary with this game, and that's kind of my problem with it, because again, it's competent, it does what it wants to do as far as an action platformer. Not much of a story to it. You just kind of going through dungeons and dungeons. The visuals aren't anything too crazy. A lot of them look very similar, just switching up color palettes a little bit. Was not too crazy impressive with me, but I know a lot of people do really enjoy this game, so it might be worth taking a look. Next game is called Warlock's Tower. So this is a straight up puzzle game where basically you are trying to escape from the Warlock's Tower, and you only have so many tiles that you can run with each level. So each level is basically a maze, and you need to get to the exit. However, your character might only have, say, 5 tiles of running space or running time. And in order to and say the exit is 15 tiles away, you need to find out a way to get there. So you end up passing through different items that add numbers to your tiles, and each one that you pass through, you need to be able to maneuver around to then get to the exit by collecting enough of these increased tiles that you can step on or move through. And you just need to be able to get to the end of the level by collecting enough of these and having enough steps that you can take in order to get to the exit. So each level, it gets harder and harder. There's more and more to it. However, for me, again, just not that great. Visually, again, kind of like the 8-bit, 16-bit kind of art style, nothing too special. The music isn't anything too great. Something, again, that I feel like you can probably just play on mobile. And the more that I see, like, the games that are just something that I could totally see on mobile, the more I'm just like, well, why don't I just play it on mobile? Or, I guess Switch Lite would make sense now for that. But, it's not, again, it's not bad. When I say this stuff, it's just not what I was looking for when I'm playing it. I think that's kind of what I want to say for it. Again, the puzzles are all there. They all make sense. It's just if you're really into a game that sounds like that kind of a concept, if you're into it, this does it well. That's pretty much it. And I just wasn't really too into the concept of, just taking steps and tiles to get there. It is just a puzzle game. It would be good on a commute, but, again, if you're just going to be sitting down to play through it, not really a game for you. Next game and final game for the Switch eShop is Mochi Mochi Boy. I played a recent game from this developer, actually, called Super Weekend Mode, which is kind of interesting, kind of fun, that I talked about in one of the last podcasts that I did. If you want to hear about that game, go check it out. But Mochi Mochi Boy is another puzzle game. Actually, I'd say it's kind of similar to Warlock's Tower in a way. However, this one, it's like these really colorful, kind of cutesy graphics, and you basically play as an elongated humanoid tube, I guess you would say. and you have a square level that you need to move through, and you need to be able to cover every tile in that level with your body as you stretch out. You can't move backwards. You can't jump over different parts of your own body. You need to be able to move through the level and cover all the tiles that are open. That's essentially what the game is. It's a puzzle game like that. You need to be able to fill it in, but you have the one path you can go through. You can kind of go through certain different tiles that pass you from one end of the level to flip you to the bottom end. So say you're moving up straight straight to the top of the level, you can move through that. Then all of a sudden you're at the bottom of the level in that same orientation. And it can get pretty difficult at times with that, but again, it is very basic in what it is. But again, if you're into that kind of a puzzle game like this, it does it well. It's it's cutesy graphics, has some interesting kind of 8-bit style music, and it's okay. Nothing too special. I played through a couple dozen levels, and it definitely gets harder and harder as you play. That's pretty much it. Again, it's competent. If it sounds like something you're into, you might be into it. Again, doesn't do anything super extraordinary. So there it is. Those are all the games I played on my Switch eShop recently. However, I did want to go into some other games I've been playing on PS4 recently. I know a lot of you guys have been mentioning that, you really want to hear some more of the PS4 games I've been playing, and I've been playing a lot. Now, I'm going to jump first into Bloodborne. I recently started this. I've only played maybe half an hour, 45 minutes so far. And I do like the feel that it is very Dark Souls in a way. However, I do like the quickness, how there's multiple enemies on screen that you're attacking. It's not usually, whereas Dark Souls, it's usually just kind of one, maybe a few at a time. However, this one, like right from the get-go, there's kind of swarms of enemies that you have to kind of deal with. Roll out of the way. I like that they don't really show you how to do stuff, but to a certain point, I was kind of hoping, like, come on, like, why not just show you how to do this? Why do I have to find out some of this stuff? I still have a ton to play of it. I've gone through a few checkpoints already, but I'm enjoying it. I'm definitely going to go through more of it, and I'll update you guys in the next podcast episode that I have out. Next game, though, I do want to talk about is Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. I loved Uncharted 4, The Thief's End. I absolutely adored that game, almost everything about it. That's probably my favorite Uncharted game, that or Uncharted 2. And that was such a fantastic game. However, Lost Legacy, it's right up there, honestly. It might be my third favorite game in the Uncharted series. The hyper-focused detail and campaign that you go through here as you're playing as the two women, it is so good because they condense all of the fluff. They get rid of the fluff that you see in a lot of these other games, and they put it all into one, story beat after story beat, action piece after action piece campaign. It still isn't too short. I think it was still at least like 8 hours. And you just go through at a brisk pace. Everything is connected. The worlds are all connected. The locales look absolutely gorgeous. It has open world segments. It has a lot of the linear segments as well. It has some boss fights, has a lot of action set pieces. It is a really damn good game, and I collected most of the collectibles. I went through a lot of that. I have a ton of screenshots. Again, if you guys follow me on Twitter, I have a ton of them getting posted up there and videos and stuff. And yeah, man, just such a blast of a game. Absolutely loved it. I got that game actually free with my PS4 as a download code. So that was I'm kind of upset that I didn't play this game sooner, but hey, I'm just glad I got to play it at all because it was a really, really good game. Next game I want to talk about is Steep. Steep is that snowboarding game that we saw from Ubisoft. It was supposed to come out for the Nintendo Switch, but I'm pretty sure it went MIA, and I think maybe they did announce something saying that it was no longer coming to Switch, which is perfectly fine with me because it came out for free on PS Plus. And the game is interesting, I'll say. I really hate the Ubisoft user interface and how they do online infrastructure in their games now. I just can't stand it with everything that they do. They have these beautiful worlds that they create, but then they completely zap you out of it with all these online features and social aspects with like random strangers and stuff like that. It just doesn't work for me, and it really splits up the experience. It hinders it more than it improves it in almost every single way, and that really frustrates me. However, Ubisoft knows how to make worlds. They know how to make different gameplay mechanics, and the game is really good outside of that, I think. I really like the idea of being able to, you can snowboard, you can ski, you can paraglide, you can rocket glide, you can parachute, you can, just free fall, you can do all these different things, hang glide, and it's really, really a lot of fun, But again, there's a lot of options that they give you right from the get-go that is DLC. It's just like you have a wheel of all these different things, and let's say the wheel gives you 9 options. It only shows you 6 that you can actually use unless you buy stuff. It's like, what? If I bought this game for $60 brand new and I saw that shit? Fuck no. Like, God, that's why I'm so cautious about the games I'm actually buying nowadays, is like this kind of shit. And it puts such a sour taste in my mouth. I just can't stand it. Especially because, again, like the game itself is really cool, like how like everything's completely open world. You can zoom to pretty much any spot in the map whenever you want. Later in the game, when you get your own helicopter, you can literally drive yourself anywhere and go through a line on your snowboard, or dive through different rings. They have all these different challenges and races and stuff like that. But then there's all the DLC for like Olympics that you have to have, and everything's showing you on the map. You buy this game brand new, $60, and they have almost more segments on the map saying DLC, buy this now. It's like, what the hell is going on, Ubisoft? No wonder why this game flopped, and it deserved to flop because of it. I can't stand this stuff. But again, the actual snowboarding is actually decent. The tricks aren't that great though, but I do like just kind of moving throughout the levels and stuff. The variety in the levels is really cool, going through different villages at times, icy areas, steep cliffs, a lot of different things like that. It's kind of cool. You can also just get off your snowboard or your equipment and just run through the level at different segments. And again, it really makes you feel like you are in an open world, like in a mountain. But again, just all the segments and all the user interface from the Ubisoft just really puts a huge damper on the game. But yeah, that's my thoughts about Steep. Very pretty at times, but yeah, a lot of issues. Final game I wanted to talk about here, and probably one of the best games that I've played, and definitely my game of the year so far, Days Gone. This game is amazing. Fantastic game. I was going to just jump right into the one issue that I kind of have, which was some of the story about midway through the game really kind of did not feel right, and kind of the repetition of going to different areas is a little bit concerning. But other than that, like the survival aspect of the game is amazing. The zombies and how you're actually facing hordes of zombies is really cool. I guess that is another issue I have. I wish there was more of that. It really took a long time for the game to really get going. But I do like the slow kind of build up for these games of you learning different things and really learning the world and stuff like that. So I enjoyed that, but I do get that, the game kind of sold itself on the hordes, and you don't really see hordes until like, halfway through the game, and you're not really tackling them like you see in trailers and stuff like that initially until well into, I'd say, into the 75% of the, completion of the game and stuff like that, 3/4 through the game. So, but yeah, no, like the combat is really good. The motorcycle control feels really good. I love that everything feels like you need to support it. Like if you get hungry, you need to have stuff. If you get thirsty, if your motorcycle runs out of gas, you need to be able to go find gas canisters in order to fill up your bike. Everything feels like everything is relied upon. It's not just a game in that way. Everything has like currency that you need to have, and you're never in like a crazy abundance of it. The hordes can get really ruthless, and you really need to pay attention and be cautious. The stealth action's really good. The gunplay is really good. Like the world looks really gorgeous in so many ways. It's a fantastic game, and it took a lot from The Last of Us, which I really love. And honestly, this, for as much as I absolutely adore this game, the more I think, man, what is Naughty Dog going to do with The Last of Us? Because if Sony Bend Studio can do this, man, if not, with the amount of money and support Naughty Dog will get, probably more than these guys, man, Last of Us 2 better blow us out of the water, because this game really stepped up in so many ways above Last of Us, actually. Maybe not storytelling wise, but in a lot of the gameplay aspects and survival aspects. This game really just killed it in a fantastic way. It was so good. Yeah, there it is, guys. Those are all the games I've been playing recently. Again, I had a ton that I've been playing recently. Haven't had an update for you guys for a while, but in the next segment here, I'm going to be going over some of my most anticipated Nintendo first-party games in 2019. Stay tuned. What's going on, guys? This is No Filter, a Nintendo podcast, and here are my 5 most anticipated 2019 Nintendo first-party games. Kind of a mouthful, but let's just jump into it here. So, this 2019 has been kind of slow a little bit. A few good games here, a lot of great indie games, however, but the second half of 2019 is absolutely bonkers with games. We already have Super Mario Maker 2. We have a whole bunch of other games coming up soon, and I'm sure we're going to get a Direct in maybe August, I'm thinking, maybe before Astral Chain, or maybe in September after Astral Chain has been released. That they're going to talk about maybe another Nintendo first-party game that'll come in for the December timeframe. But anyway, these are the 5 games as of now, as of July 2019, are my most anticipated games from Nintendo first-party. Number 5 is Fire Emblem Three Houses. Yeah, I am a really big Fire Emblem fan. However, I absolutely adored Awakening. I played Birthright and I loved it. I played Conquest, did not go all the way through it, and I also did buy, I believe it's called Revelations, and I did not even play that game yet because I didn't beat Conquest. I feel like I got a little bit of that Fire Emblem fatigue. However, I am 100% in for Fire Emblem Three Houses. I don't know if I should be, I don't know if I'm making a mistake here, however, I'm really excited. I love the idea of being a teacher in this kind of world. I love the idea of this monastery with like the 3 different factions of friends that you would have made at the start of the game, and then zoom in later on in the future to where there's a war breaking out and they're all on different sides. I think that is such a cool idea, and I see a lot of the improvements they make here looks a lot nicer. I like a lot of the aspects that they have outside of the combat as well here. It doesn't seem like it's so much just straight up like waifu kind of marriage kind of crap, which honestly was a lot of fun, but I don't want to talk too much down on that. But yeah, just everything they've been showing me of Fire Emblem Three Houses is really, really looking good to me, and I think it's going to be slept on. I feel like people have been sleeping on it, at least I'll say. I think it's still going to do bonkers. It's going to do really well. The best. I'm gonna guess that it's the best-selling Fire Emblem game, except maybe to Awakening. We'll have to see, but I think with the Switch and its momentum, I'm thinking we can see, upwards of 3 million units for this game. Maybe even more. We'll see. But yeah, this is definitely a game that I think everyone should keep an eye out on, and I'm really excited for. So that is my number 5. Number 4 is Demon X Machina. Yes, this is above Fire Emblem. The only reason I kind of did that, I think, is because Fire Emblem's coming out so soon, and we've seen a lot of that, especially with it coming so soon, and they've had all these recent trailers. But Demon X Machina, again, is another one that I think so many people are sleeping on, and I honestly don't understand why. I feel like people are just kind of making the excuse in their head because they know that they're not the biggest, big robot fighting fan, and they played the demo, they noticed, like, oh, that doesn't feel too great, and then all of a sudden they just write it right off. It's unfortunate, because even in the demo, you could upgrade your mech in order for it to move faster and move smoother and stuff like that. It was an improvement that you can make throughout the game that wasn't just going to happen at the start of the game. So it's unfortunate that I see a lot of people kind of neglecting it right away. However, everything I've seen, they had that recent trailer showing all the improvements they made on it. I think this game looks so good. I absolutely adore the art style. I'm even thinking of getting the big collector's edition. And again, I'm not a huge, big robot type fan. Like the only animes I've seen with big robots is Knights of Sidonia on Netflix, and which I did like, by the way. But yeah, something about this game, man. The visual art style, the kind of the story, how it's kind of built up. I think it's going to be really good, and I'm really excited for it. So yeah, this is definitely worthy of my number 4 spot for 2019. Number 3, Pokemon Sword and Shield. Yeah, I am so annoyed with Pokemon Company and Game Freak with how little ambition they have and how much, again, people want to defend them in this way, but no, They are a billion-dollar company with a billion-dollar brand, and they can't put in the effort that you see small indie companies do for their games. I just don't see it. They just don't want to put money into it. They just want to see all profit. They don't want to see anything else. Like, I don't get it. I want to see a fantastic game. I don't want to see a game that has to be hindering itself in order for you to release Pokemon cards with it. I want to see a fantastic game, and they are not putting in their all. I don't care what anyone's trying to say about this. It is plain as day. It could be so much better than what it is. However, I do enjoy my Pokemon games, and this is a big step for the Pokemon Core RPG series. I'm excited. I want to see what it's like. I want to see what it's, I want to play it. I want to see this whole Wilds world that I guarantee is going to be disappointing. But again, it is a Pokemon game, man. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a fun time. I still have the dream. I still have the hope that we're going to see a Pokemon game where it's like we're in like a real world, where like it's actually a well-made, designed world and all this stuff. And, everything feels like you're actually living in the Pokemon world. But we'll see. It's not happening here. However, again, I do think this is going to be a fun game. I will enjoy it. I'm just a little disappointed that it's not more than what it is. But yeah, I know I put that as number 3 and I seem super down on it. But again, it is a Pokemon game and I'm really excited for it. Number 2, it's between these two games here. These were really close for me. Luigi's Mansion 3 is my number 2. I absolutely love Dark Moon. I don't understand. I have played the first one. I played it on GameCube when it first was out. I traded that in like a week later because I finished it, I think, in one sitting. It was a fun game. I really enjoyed it. I love the creepy aspect. I loved that. When Dark Moon was announced for 3DS, I thought, oh my god, this game in 3D is going to be amazing, and yes, it was. The game looks gorgeous on the 3DS screen. In 3D, it popped. It was so good, and I loved the zaniness and the multiple levels and how unique everything looked in the game. It wasn't like the first one where everything looked honestly kind of similar except for the portrait ghosts. But yeah, Luigi's Mansion 3, guys. I think Next Level Games is highly underrated as far as Nintendo companies go. I think Nintendo understands how talented they are. They gave them Metroid, they gave them Luigi's Mansion, Mario. They've seen all of these things, and honestly, they've done fantastic games every time. They have not made a bad game yet. Quote me on that. They have not made a bad game yet, and I guarantee they're not stopping here. That E3 trailer of this looked so good. And the only wish I had here is that it would have been in 3D if Switch was 3D, because I think if anything that would make the world the levels pop even more. But yeah, no, this game looks really good, just visually, gameplay wise. The slam mechanic looks really cool. I really do enjoy that. And yeah, I just can't wait to get going on this game. Plus, hey, coming out October 31st, I do think that's a little weird. I feel like they should release it like maybe a week before. I don't know why right on the 31st, because it's like the whole spooky holiday season for Halloween is like, the weeks before, not as of the 31st right on. But hey, we'll see. And the final game, which I'm wondering if a lot of you guys are going to guess or not, but this has been my number 1 since it was first shown off. And it is Astral motherfucking Chain, people. Sorry for this way. But yeah, Astral Chain. Platinum Games, creator of Nier Automata and Hideki Kamiya, Bayonetta, Wonderful 101, Okami. Yeah, I mean, the pedigree behind this game is obviously amazing. Again, the director, I believe, of Nier Automata is the director of this, or maybe he was the head writer or something like of that for Nier. I kind of forget what he was now, but he's the spearhead for this game, one of the head guys of Nier Automata's development. So that game's fantastic. Bayonetta is fantastic. Everything Platinum Games does, at least with their core actual team, that isn't just taking on the, using their C team to do the Transformers games and stuff for money. This game is a labor of love. It's through Nintendo. It's going to be fantastic. But yeah, those are my top 5 games from Nintendo first party coming out in 2019. Again, I do feel like there's going to be more coming. Heck, I could be forgetting some right now. I'm not even talking about third-party games. I'm definitely not talking about indie games. I got to make a video about that, probably like a top 20. But yeah, I want to know what you guys think, though. What are your favorite games? I want to know the order. Don't give me just a list of games you're looking forward to. I want to see the top 3 from you guys. What is your number 1 game this year? I know I'm missing some, like maybe Zelda Link's Awakening, but honestly, I think I might be skipping out on that game. I played it on the DX version on 3DS not too long ago, maybe a year or two ago. So I don't have the big push to go play this one right away. I think this one's a wait for sale, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. I know there's a few other games, Ultimate Alliance and a whole bunch of other ones that are out there. I want to hear what you guys think. I want to see the differing opinions. I want to see what your top games are. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all next time. So there it is, guys. That is a sneak peek on one of the videos that I'm going to have up. So if you're watching this podcast through to the end, you're going to be getting a sneak peeks of some videos that come out later on. However, I do want to kind of stop here and just say thank you guys, everyone who watches and comments and has any kind of, follows me on Twitter and just kind of joins in on, in No Filter Nintendo podcast. It's kind of a labor of love for me. I love indie games, so obviously you guys see that I play a lot of indie games here, and I just want to thank you guys for watching and enjoying the content, and being involved in any way that you have been, again, either through Twitter, subscribing on the YouTube channel, anything like that. So just want to say thanks for all that, and I will be doing some special little bits here in the podcast going forward. But again, thank you guys for watching. This has been No Filter and Nintendo podcast, and I will see you all next time. Bye.